A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta, coming to you straight from this beautiful city of Goa. Tonight we are bringing you highlights from our recently concluded Goa Springboard Part 2. Now, Goa has been long known for its stunning beaches, rich culture and vibrant nightlife. But there's a new story unfolding. Goa is now on the brink of a transformation, emerging as a startup hub, unlocking fresh potential and opportunities. Tonight we bring you a panel discussion that highlights Goa's evolving economy beyond tourism and the exciting opportunities shaping its future. Joining me in this panel discussion are Tej Naik, co-founder and MD Powerland Atv, Jack Ajit Sukhija, President of Travel and Tourism Association of Goa, Lalit Saraswat, past chairman CII Goa and CEO Sancoale Technologies, and Snigdha Manchanda, founder and CEO T-Trunk. Very recently, Goa's tourism industry has been in the spotlight. Goa, like I mentioned, it is known for its, pristine beaches, its nightlife. But very recently, especially the viral images that were circulating not too long back, a couple of months ago, we saw closed shacks, empty beaches, and it just led to everyone thinking that perhaps, Goa is somewhat at some sort of a crossroad between its charm and challenges. So I know that not all of you belong to the tourism sector, but as someone who is running a business in the state, I'd like to kick this off by asking a common question to all four of you. Is Goa on the cusp of reinventing itself beyond tourism? Tej, let's start with you.
It's important that Goa needs to reinvent itself because it needs to go beyond one sector. If you look at 2012, when mining played a major role in the Goan GDP, and when mining came to a halt, it was actually the tourism and the agriculture sector which played a major role in survival of the economy. And today, as new technologies are coming in, it's important for Goa to have a diversified economy to sustain and survive and grow.
Lalit, do you agree?
Yeah, so when you talk about reinvention, or is it time for Goa to do something, I think it's a cycle of constant Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, or the Trinity, where you've got a constant cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction. And while you may look at it as one particular cycle, I think it's a part of every business. Every few years, only the paranoid survive. The pace of technology change is so immense, like he's already said, that if you don't innovate, you're going to die. And that innovation could come in terms of products, services, business models, your target market, and so on. I think Goa is welcome for business, and if there are people looking at and deciding whether they want to move to Goa, visit Goa, or invest in Goa, it's never a better time.
Sure. Snigdha?
Tourism is one piece of the puzzle. I'm a founder, and as an entrepreneur, I look at it more as a challenge or more as a forward-looking discussion, as an opportunity. As someone who moved to Goa and set up a business here more than a decade ago, Goa has been a land of opportunities, and I think that's something that is the bigger picture to look at than just tourism, which is one part of the puzzle. And I think Jack is the best person to talk about
Absolutely,
this.
Jack.
Really put me on the spot. If you look at Goa, everyone thinks about tourism, and tourism defines brand Goa, you go anywhere. But let's take a look at the numbers. As per the economic survey, Goa's GSDP, Goa State Gross Domestic Product, is some 130,000 crores. The pharma industry alone in Goa contributes 28,000 crores to that, right? So you're talking 25% directly there, out of which 70% is exports. You have Zydus, you had Cipla, you name it, they are there. Then you look at FMCG, I don't have numbers for that, but you have HUL having a factory here, Nestle has two factories. Beyond that, there are other manufacturing concerns like Siemens, MRF, Zuari, which have been here since time immemorial. They will contribute significantly. So there's plenty happening beyond tourism in Goa, but Goa is defined by tourism. Now, coming to the question, has tourism declined this year? I really don't think it's declined, but it's spread in many more areas. Like, let's face it, 2022, 23, 23, 24 were real boom years. They were golden years because most Indians could not go out. Goa was the easiest to do. Everyone came here. Tourism in Goa beyond that is alive and kicking. We are like a middle-aged person who's got some issues, which we will address.
Oh, absolutely. But just staying with you, Jack, do you think Goa is tapping on to other sectors to strengthen its tourism sector? And what I mean by other sectors is like, like you mentioned, pharma, like healthcare tourism or like business tourism, MICE. Do you think that is already happening?
Yeah. So the last, if you look at the five-star segment, there are around what we call the A category. There are 94 hotels with some 11,000 rooms. And 90% of the time they depend on MICE, conferences, and they depend on weddings. Beach weddings is a big theme throughout. So that's already been happening. It's happening over the last 10, 15 years. What Goa lacks is a world-class convention center. I think in the recent budget, there was an announcement of a 20,000 crore allocation for 500 tourism destinations and tourism districts. So hopefully, which would be on private-public partnership, the state would provide the land and the center would provide some financing, and then a private player would come in. So hopefully we work on it to get a world-class convention center. We had a very successful Brian Adams show this year. Event tourism is something big, music tourism. We're kicking off a little way in adventure tourism. So yeah, there are verticals coming in the experiential economy, including Fort Aguada.
Sure. Lalit, just bringing you in here and just picking up from what Jack said, right? Are there, what according to you are the sectors, that are not much, talked about in Goa, that are showing potential opportunities and those can be tapped into but probably haven't been explored fully, according to you?
Pharma is a big player. We've got more than 100 pharma companies in Goa. You've got manufacturing, which is a major player. Tej on my right is there, and he'll probably talk more in detail about that. We've got a thriving set of industrial estates, having the world-class companies from around the world. I think there's a huge scope for renewables when it comes to Goa. We are looking at GCCs. I think there's a scope for a lot of companies moving in with startups over here. It is a potential to be a creative capital. We already have Serendipity Arts Festival, which is a global, on the global map as far as arts is concerned. You've got the International Film Festival of India, which is also on the creative side. So when you look at creativity and you look at startups, you look at the policies that the government of India is implementing, and the government of Goa is going in on overdrive as far as some of them are concerned. You'll soon see that a lot of businesses which require peace of mind to think and create. We have 2 unicorns, we've got 500 plus startups. If you take a number of unicorns per district of the country, we are above average.
Right.
It's a great place to be.
Right. Absolutely. If it's about working from Goa, I think my entire team will agree. We would all love to work from Goa. Snigdha, you wanted to add something, right?
Yes, actually, since he mentioned about the startup ecosystem in Goa, and that's something that I've been a part of. So my company, Tej Naik, is tracking the wellness economy in Goa as well. And I think these are 2 things that I wanted to touch upon. One is just the wellness tourism in Goa. And I think having a startup policy to even attract that global talent or have easier visa, like the golden visa that Dubai has or something, where it makes it easier for global talent to operate out of Goa. I think that's one big opportunity there. And I don't know how many of you know this data specifically for founders in Goa and the startup ecosystem. Goa has 3 times more women in business than any other state in the country. This is data as per 2024. And I can speak from my personal experience setting up business in Goa as a solo founder. And when I started Tej Naik in 2011, it's been a tremendous journey, right from ease of doing business, clarity of what needs to be done. I've seen that landscape evolve.
I want to bring Tej here. Tej, you are running a business in the EV sector. What are the opportunities do you see for young businesses? And by that I mean, how robust is the startup ecosystem here in manufacturing EV?
I think Goa is perfectly located when you look at the geographical location. We have a port, we have airport, we have good transportation system. In terms of the economy and the environment, a lot of people want to come and set up in Goa. But to get more EV companies to set up, the government needs to focus on 2 things, which is the incentives for the manufacturers and incentives for the customers. Right now, Goa doesn't actually have an EV policy. Now, second is, it's important that Goa build the ecosystem, right? So you cannot just incentivize one unit or one EV policy. You need to also build a value chain. So you need to get OEMs, vendors, and build that lineup so that more people want to come in Goa. So I think the biggest challenge over here, thirdly, is scarcity of land. Land, when you look at the automotive sector, you need huge chunks of land. And Goa doesn't have it. Recently, one thing what the Goa government did was they came with something called as an electronic cluster, right, where the land was subsidized for greenfield projects. And we were actually lucky to get land over there at a much cheaper cost of something like 550 a square meter, which you don't get anywhere else in Goa. So Goa government needs to focus on building such clusters, which will actually get more people to come and set up facilities in Goa. The fourth point which I would like to highlight is talent pool, right? So Goa is still the university, the academia, and the industries need to work closely together.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. Tonight we are bringing you highlights from our recently concluded Goa Springboard Part 2. In this panel discussion, we focus on Goa's evolving economy beyond tourism. Listen in. Lalit, you mentioned about the creative economy in Goa a while back. I'd like you to elaborate on it. Like you mentioned, there are film festivals, art festivals, music festivals that happen in the city of Goa, in the state of Goa. And I know that Sancoale Technologies, it is a digital marketing firm. So you do a lot of personal branding as well. So how would you rebrand Goa if it was up to you?
We need to have a vibrant place where there's growth happening. If there's no growth happening, then where will the children go? There'll be outward migration is going to happen. And you look at that data point today, most of the children who graduate out of Goa or engineers who graduate out of Goa don't study in Goa, don't work in Goa. They go out to work. So we need to create some kind of growth for them. We have to maintain that soul of Goa while ensuring the growth is there. So my guess is you'll have R&D hubs. You don't require to make it polluting. You'll require knowledge centers. You'll require a huge number of educational institutes. We've got the local players, and you've got IIT, NIT, BITS, Goa Institute of Management, and what have you. You've got a film institute as well. You've got a photography institute as well in Aldona, Moira, or thereabouts, right? So I think it is time for Goa to attract the best brains out in the world. Products that are built in this tech first, AI first thought process are the ones that are going to succeed. And I think it's a great time for companies, people who've got more brains than us, to look at and see what we can create out of this place. But I think the opportunity is huge.
Absolutely. Snigdha, coming to you. Now, Goa is known for its beaches more than its tea culture. What are the opportunities do you see? And you earlier spoke about, integrating the tea culture into Goa's wellness hub. Could you just elaborate on that?
So the conversation about Goa is incomplete without talking about its culture. And I think the culture I'm talking about is a lot to do with the heritage of Goa. The Portuguese were the one who introduced tea to the British, and that's a big legacy in Goa, how the tea time treats came about. So the high tea experience that we do in this 100-year-old Goan home is something that gives a very unique experience about Goa. And I think people are actively looking at these walking tours and heritage experiences in Goa. And I think that's something that I'm very keen in exploring, both as a opportunity for in my business as well as in my personal life as someone who's moved to Goa.
Nice. Jack, Snigdha spoke about heritage, and I understand you're also partner at Panjim Inn, right? How do you view heritage hotels in Goa? I mean, what is their perception, even for tourists, given there are these, not Airbnbs, but yeah, the likes of the newer sort of, accommodations coming up. How do you view the role of heritage hotels in Goa today?
So that's an area which has been very underused. We are the only classified heritage hotels as per norms. There are many other heritage homes which have become hotels. Today, what we have is we've become a place for high-end villas, which I don't think taken a lot of the Goan culture into aspects. It's basically a money, you build a 20, 30 crore villa, which taken various elements, but I don't think they take any of the Goan natural materials into aspect, which something like, say, Kerala does.
All right. My next question is a common question for Tej and Snigdha. Sustainability is a big topic, across businesses. So Tej, first coming to you, is the Goa government or the policymakers, are they doing enough to ensure green logistics, EVs, remain in the spotlight?
Some places where Goa government can improve is first is in terms of energy, right? So Goa gets 75% of energy from coal, which is imported. So Goa needs to start working on solar and other forms of energy. Don't forget that Goa imports this and subsidizes it and gives it to people. So still, Goa is losing close to 250 crores per year in terms of only subsidization. So I think it's high time Goa looks at this target of at least 250 megawatts of solar energy over the next few years so that they can get carbon neutral.
Absolutely, I agree. Snigdha, just talking about the same thing, ethical sourcing is also a big topic in the F&B industry. So how are you viewing sustainability as a company? How does T-Trunk view sustainability?
At T-Trunk, we're completely plastic neutral, which means that we do use plastic, especially for food grade packaging. We do need it to extend shelf life of a product. But it means that we also contribute to recycling as much plastic that we use. So we conducted a detailed audit on our plastic consumption, and then we contribute to plastic recycling. It's not the ideal solution. Ideally, I would like to be a plastic-free product, but given that T-Trunk ships to 25 different countries, we need to maintain a certain shelf life of the product. That's why we do it. When it comes to ethical sourcing, Goa has given me the platform to create a central blending unit. So T-Trunk sources teas from Assam, Darjeeling, Nilgiris. Our rose petals will come from Jaipur, our saffron comes from Kashmir. Everything comes down to a central blending unit here in Goa where our teas are made.
Absolutely. Lalit, coming to you, now you have been the past chairman of CII. What advice would you give to a young business who wants to start up in Goa in terms of how they can grow, how they can scale their business, whose doors they can knock at? What are the resources available at their disposal?
I think the fundamental thing that is needed for all that is the attitude to grow. So that I'm sure has to be inborn. But apart from that, Goa is a very vibrant startup ecosystem for its size. So we have, I already talked about IIT, NIT, BITS, GIM. You also have FIRE at Don Bosco, which is FIRE at Don Bosco. The government of Goa is quite supportive for the startup ecosystem. You have 91 Springboard, which has a part of your name, and their Build 3, which is now there. Goa is a great place to network. Goa is a great place to have a quality of life, and these two are probably necessary to grow your business without burning out.
Well, I think that was a very fruitful discussion, and by way of closing remarks, I'd like to ask one last common question to all of you. One piece of advice for all the entrepreneurs watching our show today, for all the entrepreneurs in the audience, what would you like to tell them in terms of how they can make a mark globally while being in the state of Goa? Jack, let's start with you.
There are three major asks that across our 10 years working in the association that we have had over the years. Number one is that cleanliness. Now, beaches are 90% being maintained to a certain extent, most of the beaches. But if you see any of the areas around which are common areas, all over, it is far dirtier than it used to be. We have lost a lot of global business because of that. Germans have moved out, other states have moved out. Second one has been technology in transport. We're not saying that you go for a Ola, Uber, whatever, but you have to have transparency in pricing. So it's not rocket science, it's just a policy, and then you need strict implementation of the same. And the third thing that we have asked is that there be very clear security guidelines. Now, there are issues which happen, which just get blown out of proportion. We know where the problem areas are, we know how they can be tackled, but it's let go on till it becomes a big issue in the media. So if we can handle these three things from tourism, I think then we can go on to the rest.
Fantastic. We'll take that. Snigdha?
Sure. So as my lived experience of being a solo founder, building Tea Trunk from Goa, I think there's one thing that I've experienced is that entrepreneurship is a team sport. You know, you can't work in a silo, while you're living in Goa, but not tapping into the ecosystem and continuing to operate in different cities. I think if you're building something in Goa, tapping into the ecosystem here, creating that team support for yourself, I think is very, very important.
Fantastic. Lalit?
The Goans, I think we need to dream bigger. We need to realize that the world is our target audience. We don't have to restrict ourselves to trying to sell only to the nearest by village for all our products or the nearby city for all our products. So it's a great place to be located in, and because the brand is already recognized. You don't have to sell the place. And when you don't have to sell the place, half the problem is solved. Second, you're in a better frame of mind when you're working over here. I'm sure that you can probably get the tests done, the audits done for this, but I'm sure while we are a pharma hub for the world with 100 plus pharma companies, but our per capita consumption of BP medicines will be probably the lowest in the country. It's a great place. Come, enjoy, make money, don't kill yourself with stress, and grow your businesses.
Absolutely. That's the ideal life. Tej?
I always believe that you have to have self-learning capability, make use of internet, and today world is at your doorstep.
Fantastic. Tej, Lalit, Snigdha, Jack, I think this was a very fruitful discussion. Thank you so much for those insightful takeaways. Our viewers and the audience members will have a lot to learn and really take away from this discussion.
And with that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.